Hello and welcome to another episode of Be the Love to Awaken Our Souls. Thank you again so much for tuning in this week. I'm Stacy Musial.
And I am Brenda Carey. We are your co-hosts and souls on the journey, and we invite you to be a part of our Be the Love tribe in support of your spiritual growth and transformation to come home to your divine self. And let's raise our vibration to love.
And so before we begin this episode, I'd like to invite you to begin to get centered with us and just to ground yourself in this moment. Just connect with your body and how you feel, whatever surface you're on, your feet on the ground, and just connecting with your body as a whole. And taking a breath in through your nose and breathing right into your heart space and breathing out through your heart space. So imagine breathing love into your heart with each breath. And as you breathe out, you're breathing out that love and sending it to all of the world and humanity, and allowing that inhalation to continue breathing in love and exhalation to breathe out love. So you're creating a loop of love through your heart space. And just do that for just a few moments and just connecting with that heart-centered feeling and knowing that you can take that feeling and that energy with you throughout the remainder of your day, and always know that you can come back to that space of breathing that love in and breathing it out. Knowing you can always come back to your breath and always come back to love, because love is really all there is.
So true. Love is all there is. Thank you for that, Stacy. Because that just sets me up in the perfect heart and mind space to have a conversation around mediums. I like how our conversation started before we hit record. Actually, we started talking about this even last week, like our experiences with mediums and like why do we see mediums? Like, why do we go to them? What's their purpose in our lives? And for me, honestly, I'm a little on the fence with mediums. Like, I have had, a couple short good experiences with Reiki practitioners that were also mediums. But then I've had some experiences that I was like, well, I don't know, that person didn't really tell me something that I didn't really already know, or it just felt really way off. So I'm excited about this conversation. But before we jump in, I want to start with like really basic. What is a medium? Because I think some people get a little confused, because I mentioned I saw, Reiki practitioners, and as some of the Reiki circles that I've been a part of, some of them are also mediums, and the two are not, the same, because I would consider myself a Reiki practitioner, but not necessarily a medium for other people. But they are people who channel communication between this earthly world and the world of spirit. They have psychic and deep intuitive abilities to see past, present, future events of a person by tuning into their spirit energy. So I love the idea. I really do. I love the idea of mediumship. And I think for myself, I found I can be my own conduit of receiving messages from spirit. But I personally get a little hung up. Maybe it's my own personal block towards someone else being able to read that. And I think maybe part of it is because I haven't had like such a powerful medium experience where I was like, oh, that was it. I hope to someday. I'm definitely open to it. But I'm excited to see, Stacy, I know you've had some really powerful experiences, and to just know, like, why do you see mediums, and then maybe share with us your experience.
Yeah, I think, there's many different reasons we go to mediums. And sometimes, sometimes it's just for fun,
Oh yeah,
which I've done many times,
me too.
when I'm traveling or, I'm in a place like Sedona, right? Or, Tulum or places that like have a lot of like different, spiritual, like mediums and, Akashic records and, tarot readers
Yep.
and things like that. And so, um, and then there's times where it's like, oh, well, I'm feeling really stuck and, I'm not really sure which direction to go into. And, it's not that I want someone else to tell me, but sometimes, when I'm sitting with something and, I'm just really, unsure and sometimes a medium can be helpful. It can sometimes, it can be helpful to get someone to see something that maybe my own ego or own mind isn't seeing. I have like these blind spots, right? We all have blind spots that,
Absolutely. Yeah.
keep us from like really seeing. Um, Now, if I go to someone, and they tell me something that doesn't resonate, right, then I'm gonna say, no, that doesn't feel right in my body. Um, because there's a, this, I think when we can become too dependent on mediums, then we start to take, give our power away. And that's really something that we really also need to be aware of. Um, but, in those, but and then just to back up, I think it's really important to, know who your medium is and where you're going and, or have someone who has some good reviews, right? So recognizing that, you know, there are different reasons why to go and to be really discerning at the same time.
Yeah. I think the main reason I didn't specifically go for a medium reading, mine was for Reiki healing. And within that, there's been a couple instances where it was really beautiful for me to receive their message for me. And this one point this was shortly after I had given birth to my second daughter, actually probably about a year after. And I was, really struggling with my digestive system. So I went to a Reiki practitioner and she was also a medium. And as she was moving her hands over my belly, because I was just having so much pain, I actually just came out of a hospitalization at that point. And she's like, this pain is your third birth. And I was like, what? She's like, but it's not the birth of your children. This is the birth of you, like a rebirth of you. And that really resonated with me. And so, like you'd mentioned, like, when things feel really true, and because I think I was in so much physical pain, and there was definitely some ego there involved attached to my pain, it was helpful to have another person that I trusted. That's key for me anyway, for someone that I trusted to say, here's what I see, and to notice it in a very loving way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when they are very spot on in how it feels in your body, and that trust is so important, and but I've gone to some mediums that I hadn't ever met before and blown away by what they were able to pick up on. And, just the energy, because they're reading the energy around you, and then they're also connecting to the spirit world. So they're receiving messages from their guides and then also connecting with your guides as well. And so different things that can come up during those sessions. I was really blown away by one that I wasn't even going in with the anticipation to reach out to any deceased family members that had passed on, but in one reading I had, my grandfather came through, and he had just passed maybe a year or two before this reading, but he came through, and he was, um and she described him to a T, right down to,
Mm.
he filed his papers, and how he was and his temperament and his daily routines and, some things that he had wished he had done on this planet, like while he was here. And then he also like gave me the message, and she had said, she's like, do you have a family member named Ben? And I was like, yeah. And she asked if is he on a boat, and I was like, well, he's in the Navy, and so I was like, wow. He's like, give him a thumbs up, like he's doing great work. I'm like, oh, thanks, okay.
That's awesome.
I was like, wow, that's pretty like, powerful when they can tap into that level of detail and
Sure.
connection to the person. And I find that like, it was really fun to hear that. And I feel like, you know, mediums can be really helpful in contacting, past loved ones, and maybe even giving some closure to people that need that kind of support and closure to move forward in this life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can be so healing for people struggling with grief of a loved one, especially if it was sudden or tragic. I've really seen that be a powerful shift for them, especially when they're just in such a depressed place. And I think that's really beautiful. The other thing, speaking of the past, is there's another shamanic Reiki practitioner, and she had received a download about me in a past life. And again, I'm a person who it's not like I totally disbelieve past lives, but it's not like I'm totally in belief of it either. I could be on either side. That could be true, or it could not be true. But I will say that she received this very clear download that I had a past life on this land that we had recently bought in Montana. And she had said that this was a previous home of mine in a past life. And she's like, does your land feel like home, like you've been there before? And I'm like, absolutely. The first time, because we bought our property like sight unseen. It was a huge risk, something I thought I would never do. But like immediately when I stepped on this land, I was like, it was home. It just felt so familiar. And that was another really powerful moment of someone seeing me in a past life, in a location that I'm currently in. I'm fascinated by that. Absolutely.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful, because then it led you to where you are, and so just really powerful, that was the message that came through for you. Um, yeah, I've had like, medium experiences where they've been able to really tap into my own, Akashic records, and, connecting to what my life was about. And I had this other experience with a medium, and she was actually doing tarot as well. And so she was, reading the tarot cards and also connecting with her own spirit guides and mine as well. But what was coming through was just so much amazing detail. And this was actually back in September of last year. I was in Tulum, Mexico, and she laid out the spread, and so everything on there so far has come true. And so right down from the relationship that was coming into fruition, with my son moving in, and this was before, like, all these changes started happening. And then she said, and then she I don't know, there was some information that was coming through and said, you should get a cat. I feel strong cat energy for you. And just so funny. I was like, well, that's interesting. Like I hadn't really thought about getting a cat or an animal or anything like that. But lo and behold, like my son moves in to my house and he brought a cat. And so I was like, okay. And it's just like, wow, that's like, just really potent, powerful. I don't know. It's just, when someone can really tune in and connect on that level, it can be really, really powerful, but then there's also other times where I've gone to mediums and it feels like they're not able to get out of the way and their mind is there is still
Mm,
filtering through, and so then it feels like it's coming from their own experiences rather than like what's actually happening for you. And that's the piece that I think is really important when you're finding someone that you can trust and that
yeah.
can put their own stuff aside and just be that conduit of energy between you and the spirit world.
Right. I mean, it definitely goes, both ways between ourself and the medium, how open we are, and then add in the spiritual realm. And then the medium needs to filter, what they receive through their mind. And for me, honestly, that's the part where I get a little hung up on. And so this is where my skeptic side kind of sneaks in there and goes, yeah, but, uh, you know, are, are they really filtering that information or downloading that information with clear, loving intention? And I'm not saying that, mediums are, scammers or out to get people. Absolutely not. But I think for any of us, our ego can get in the way, or there's expectations, that can get in there and can disrupt that reciprocity of energy. For me personally, I have found that I am my own best medium. And I get it. Sometimes I can not always filter that clearly, but when I come into a meditative state and I can release some of the energetic blocks, some of my own beliefs and opinions and stories on things, I can receive from spirit. And that's part of my intuitive abilities that I've developed over the years. I can't say it's always been like that. So over the years, I've grown in my own confidence and trust to receive the messages from spirit, to receive, messages from spirits of, I don't know if they're other people or entities or what they are, but it comes in. And for me, I think it does come down to a little bit of a trust factor because I've had actually quite a few medium experiences that were kind of just meh, you know, and I was like, well, I don't quite understand that it like didn't resonate with me. And it sounded more like you mentioned, like more like them, not so much like me or something that would be received from spirit world. So for me personally, like if I am specifically going to go to a medium, I do like look for if I know of referrals, like if or testimonials, like I do kind of check them out a little bit. And I need to go in with a really clear mind and clear intention, like not out of desperation and just to be open to whatever is received. I personally also like to actually meet the person and hear their voice and be in their energy. I don't know, maybe that's my empathic nature. Like there's that level of trust that I have to build first before I can just be so open because it is a very vulnerable place to be in, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just coming back to that space is that we all have the ability to get in touch with our intuition and to tap into those powers or those abilities. It's not just someone out there who has these skills. They've been working on it for many, many years. And some people, they've recognized it since birth. And I think we've all had that, but it's also maybe been shut down in a lot of ways by,
Oh, sure.
our culture, society, families, and so it's really about reconnecting with that. And so I, I find myself to be very intuitive, and typically, yeah, when I, most of the time when I go to a medium or, as a psychic or whatever, it is like validating my intuition. And so then I realized, well, I don't really need this because it's just another tool. So, we have to just learn to trust our own inner wisdom. And, but yeah, I think it does come down to that like deep meditative state and like really relaxing the body, because when you're quiet, that's when the messages will come through, that intuition. And so when you get yourself out of the way and then, maybe take some deep breaths and just allow, and not to push either, not to push for the answer, right? So when we're needing an answer right now, it's usually doesn't come. It's, when we step out of the way and just rest into that space. So, so we can be our own mediums. We just have to practice, trusting and leaning into that skill. And, and then there's those times where, yeah, it's, finding someone who is a reputable source of, as a medium, and someone that you can, count on, or some, not count on, but someone you can know that, is going to be able to provide that safe space as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And so we're going to close out our conversation with an intuition meditation to help you connect to what the yogis call our third eye, or our Agna chakra. So find a comfortable position. If it's possible for you, it may not be. You can either close the eyes down, or you can just take a soft gaze. And as you breathe a little bit deeper and really pay attention to the inhales and exhales, I want you to draw your awareness to your third eye, that space in between the brow. The yogis call this our seat of insight, inner wisdom, intuition, and we all have this ability. It's not just for the special few. We all have it. And place a color of your favorite choice at that third eye. And see that color brighten and expand and fill your whole head, even the top of the head, the crown, and then even outside of your body, your energetic field, tapping into the world of spirit, where linear time does not exist, where the rational mind does not exist. And as you tap into your innate wisdom, become aware of any messages that come from this place of love and light. Remembering you are a conduit. You are a vessel to receive life force energy. And you are pure love. May you take this intuitive, deep, deep knowing with you throughout the rest of your day. Drawing in one final deep inhale, biggest one yet. And releasing exhale. And thank you for listening to Be the Love podcast. Find a spiritual home with us and let's connect on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. We always appreciate 5-star reviews on iTunes or Spotify. And I'm Brenda Carey, and as a holistic healer, I offer coaching and online programs to guide highly sensitive people in their sacred path to vibrant health. My website is sacredpathyogaandreiki.com.
And I'm Stacy Musial. I'm a psychotherapist specializing in whole person, deep soul healing. And you can find out more about my work, my book, and programs at awakenyourempoweredsoul.com. You can check out our links in the show notes. And stay tuned for more episodes being released on Mondays at 5:55 a.m. Mountain Time.